Did you know that Montana once froze colder than Mars, but also hit 117 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than any temperature recorded in Florida? Or that this landlocked state somehow has more shoreline than California? About the fact that under its wheat fields, it hides 150 nuclear missile silos? Well, Montana is jam-packed with crazy facts like this, and we have 50 of them for you. So let's get right into it. Fact 50. Triple Ocean Watershed. At the summit of Triple Divide Peak in Montana's Glacier National Park, a single raindrop can do something almost no drop of water on Earth can. Choose its ocean. If it falls one way, it'll eventually flow 3,000 km north to the Arctic Ocean. A few inches over, it'll head 4,500 km southeast to the Atlantic via the Gulf. And just a step the other direction sends it west toward the Pacific. There are only a handful of true triple ocean divides on the entire planet, and Montana's is the most famous, basically the continental crossroads of the world's water. Fact 49. Bell-ringing boulders, near but Montana. There's a boulder field that literally rings like a church bell. Tap the stones with a hammer and they chime with clear metallic tones. Music. But here's the weird part. If you take one away, it goes completely silent. The sound only works when the rocks are crowded together. Scientists blame iron content and how the rocks vibrate against one another, but nobody fully agrees. It's one of Earth's strangest natural instruments, a pile of rocks that refuses to sing solo. Fact 48. World's largest snowflake. Montana doesn't just do big sky. In 1887, during a brutal blizzard at Fort Keogh, soldiers swore they saw snowflakes the size of dinner plates, 15 in wide, 8 in thick. Not flakes, slabs. Imagine trying to walk while frozen frisbees crash out of the sky. It sounded so insane that scientists still debate whether it was just clumped flakes sticking together. But Guinness World Record still gives Montana the title, and locals love to claim it. Whether it was real or just an optical illusion, the story refuses to melt away. And that's the bigger point. In most places, a snowflake is delicate. In Montana, a snowflake can knock you on your butt. Fact 47. Extreme temperature whiplash. Think your local weather is unpredictable? LMA, Montana laughs at that. On January 15, 1972, the town woke up to 54 degrees Fahrenheit, the kind of cold where your breath freezes midair. By the end of the day, it was 49 degree F. That's a 103-degree swing in just 24 hours, the sharpest temperature swing ever recorded on Earth. The culprit, a Chinook wind roaring off the Rockies, warm and dry enough to erase winter like someone hit Delatite. 1 minute you're in Arctic survival mode, the next you're outside in a hoodie. This puts Montana into the Guinness World Records yet again. Fact 46. Nuclear Missile Command Central. Montana has only one military base, but it's a massive deal. Meet Malmstrom Air Force Base outside Great Falls, one of only 3 U.S. Air Force bases that operates, maintains, and secures Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles. Hidden beneath Montana's wheat fields and prairies are 150 underground missile silos, each containing a Minuteman III ICBM capable of traveling over $6,000 minimum. The first Minuteman missile arrived by train in 1962, making Montana ground zero for America's nuclear deterrent strategy. So, while tourists admire Big Sky Country's natural beauty, they're unknowingly standing above one of the world's most powerful nuclear arsenals. This quiet rural state secretly guards America's ultimate insurance policy against global threats. Fact 45. Lower 48's coldest temperature. Montana doesn't just do cold winters. It owns the record for the coldest temperature ever recorded in the lower 48. On January 20th, 1954, Rogers Pass hit 70 degrees F, 56.7 degrees C. That's colder than a typical day on Mars. At that temperature, your spit freezes midair, car tires snap like glass, and just a few unprotected minutes outside can be fatal. Even Alaska has only beaten it once. So, while most states brag about snow days, Montana can brag it once outfroze an entire planet. Fact 44. Desert-grade heat. Montana may be famous for snow, but it also holds a heat record that would make Arizona sweat. The state hit 117 degree F, 47.2 degrees C, not once, but twice. First in Glendive in 1893, then again at Medicine Lake in 1937. That's desert-level heat, and here's the kicker. It's hotter than anything Florida has ever recorded. For a state that outsiders picture as ice and elk, Montana can roast harder than the tropics. It's a reminder that big sky country doesn't just mean blizzards. It means extremes at both ends of the thermometer. Fact 43. One of the West's mightiest undammed waterfalls, Montana hides one of the last truly wild waterfalls in the American West, Kootenai Falls. While other big cascades have been dammed or diverted, this beast is still 100% untamed. At peak flow, it hurls up to 50,000 cubic feet of water every second. Basically, an entire river dropping off a cliff all at once. The roar shakes your chest. The spray blinds you. And if you're brave enough to cross the swinging bridge dangling over it, you'll get the rarest view left in the West. A waterfall that humans never managed to tame. Fact 42. One of America's largest freshwater springs. Every single day, Montana's giant springs gushes out 156 million gallons of crystal clear water, enough to fill over 2,000 swimming pools. And here's the insane part. Scientists trace that water back to snow that fell in the Little Belt Mountains 3,000 years ago. What you're watching isn't just a spring. It's ancient snowmelt, finally completing a journey that started before Rome was even founded. When Lewis and Clark stumbled on it in 1805, Clark called it the largest fountain he ever saw, and 200 years later, it's still erupting just as powerfully. Fact 41. Hurricane force winds on land. Think hurricanes are the only storms that unleash deadly winds. Montana would like a word. On February 21st, 2002, a weather station in Miller Colony clocked a 143 mph gust, stronger than a Category 4 hurricane. And this wasn't a tropical storm. It was a Chinook, a dry winter wind tearing straight out of the Rockies. These blasts have derailed trains and even buried homes under rolling walls of prairie grass. When mountain corridors align, Montana doesn't just get windy. It turns into nature's own wind tunnel. Fact 40. More shoreline than California. Here's something that'll make your geography teacher do a double take. Landlocked Montana has a single lake with more shoreline than the entire Golden State. Fort Peak Reservoir, a massive artificial lake created by damming the Missouri River back in the 1930s, winds its way through eastern Montana with an absolutely mind-boggling 1,120 mi of shoreline. To put that in perspective, that's more coastline than California's entire Pacific edge, and California has 840 miles of oceanfront. How does a landlocked lake pull off this geographic magic trick? It's all about that wildly convoluted shape with countless bays, inlets, and finger-like extensions that twist and turn through the prairies. You could literally spend weeks exploring Fort Peak shores and never see the same stretch twice. Fact 39, longest free-flowing river in the U.S. Montana hides a record breaker, the Yellowstone River, the longest undammed river in the entire lower 48. For 692 miles, it runs free, untouched by dams or concrete, carving straight through the Rockies before merging with the Missouri. In a country where nearly every major river has been chained up, this one still flows exactly as Lewis and Clark saw it more than 200 years ago. Raw, powerful, and untamed. Fact 38. The Big Sky Lake is bigger than you think. Montana's Flathead Lake is a record breaker hiding in plain sight. At 197 square miles, it's the largest natural freshwater lake in the western United States. Even bigger than the famous Lake Tahoe, the water here is so clear you can often see more than 20 ft straight down, watching fish swim along the bottom like you're looking into a giant natural aquarium. 30 mi long and 16 mi wide, this glacial gym proves that Montana isn't just big sky country, it's big lake country too. Fact 37, world's shortest river. Montana doesn't just do big, it also does hilariously small. Meet the Roe River in Great Falls, a mighty waterway that runs a grand total of 201 ft from Giant Springs to the Missouri River. That's shorter than 2 basketball courts laid end to end, making it the world's shortest river, at least until Guinness got tired of the arguments and scrapped the category in 2006. The rivalry was legendary. Oregon's Driver River claimed the crown at just 120 ft during high tide. And here's the kicker. The row didn't even have a name until 1988 when a group of local fifth graders campaigned to get it officially recognized. Montana's kids literally put their river on the map. Fact 36. Triple border with Canada. While most U.S. states are lucky to border one Canadian province, Montana went Allen and grabbed 3. This border giant stretches across British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, making it the only U.S. state outside Alaska to share land with 3 provinces at once. That's a whopping 545 mi of international border, running from jagged Rocky Mountain peaks in the west to endless prairie in the east. It basically makes Montana America's all-access pass to the Great White North. Ski slopes in BC, oil fields in Alberta, and golden wheat seas in Saskatchewan, all waiting just across the line. Fact 35. Mega flood fingerprints. If you look at the hills around Missoula, you'll see strange horizontal lines running across the mountains like giant bathtub rings. Those aren't random. They're scars from one of the most insane natural disasters in Earth's history. During the Ice Age, glacial Lake Missoula was held back by a fragile ice dam the size of Manhattan. When it burst not once but dozens of times, it unleashed floods so massive they make Hollywood apocalypse movies look like kids' cartoons. We're talking skyscraper-high walls of water racing at highway speeds, launching boulders the size of houses, and reshaping entire states. These mega floods ripped all the way to the Pacific, carving Washington's bizarre channeled scablands and proving that when Montana floods, it floods like nowhere else on Earth. Fact 34. The toxic lake that killed thousands of geese. In Montana sits one of the most bizarrely dangerous tourist attractions in America. The Berkeley Pit, which attracts around 35,000 tourists a year, is a flooded former copper mine that's basically an 1,800 FT deep toxic cocktail you definitely don't want to dive into. This massive crater holds 40 billion gallons of acidic water so loaded with heavy metals that it could dissolve a penny. And that's not a figure of speech. The water is a strange copper-green color that looks almost tropical, if tropical meant capable of killing you. The pit's deadly nature became tragically clear in 2016 when thousands of migrating snow geese made the fatal mistake of treating it like a rest stop. The toxic brew killed them within hours, leading to an urgent bird. Scaring operation involving everything from loud cannons to drones. Now workers patrol the pit like bouncers at the world's most exclusive and lethal lake, making sure no wildlife gets the wrong idea about taking a dip. Fact 33. The lake that earthquakes built. On August 17, 1959, southwest Montana got hit by an earthquake so powerful it literally created a brand new lake overnight. A 7.3 magnitude monster ripped through the Madison River Valley, shaking an entire mountainside loose. Millions of tons of rock thundered down, damming the river in seconds and birthing what we now call Quake Lake. By the next morning, campers woke up to find an entirely new body of water where dry land had been just hours before. But this was no miracle. 28 people tragically lost their lives that night, forever linking Quake Lake's origin story to disaster. To this day, you can still see the colossal landslide scar towering above the shoreline, a chilling reminder of the night Montana's. Land changed in the blink of an eye. Fact 32. The state that dwarfs European nations. Montana isn't just big, it's absurdly big. At 147,000 square miles, Big Sky Country is so huge it dwarfs entire nations. If it broke off and became its own country, Montana would instantly outrank Germany, swallow Denmark and the Netherlands nearly 10 times over, and still have room left. It's even about the same size as Japan. But here's the kicker. Only 1.1 million people live here, fewer than Dallas, Texas, spread out across an area the size of an island nation. The result? A lot of wilderness, endless prairies, and so much elbow room you could wander for days without seeing another soul. Fact 31. Room to roam. Hardly any people. Montana is one of America's emptiest states with a population density of just 7.7 people per square mile. To put that in perspective, even neighboring North Dakota, another sparsely populated prairie state, is still 50% more. Crowded. In 46 of Montana's 56 counties, there are fewer than 6 people per square mile, officially earning them frontier status according to the Census Bureau. It's not unusual to drive 100 miles through eastern Montana and see more pronghorn antelope than cars, more wind turbines than people, and more sky than anything else. Fact 30, a lake that sloshes from distant earthquakes. Montana's Flathead Lake has a hidden superpower. It can feel earthquakes from over 1,000 men-erg away. When the Great Alaska Earthquake struck in 1964, wide 200 miles from Montana, this massive inland sea suddenly went haywire. The lake started rocking in a phenomenon called S, basically turning into a giant sloshing bathtub. For hours, waves pounded the shore, docks snapped, and boats were tossed around like toys, all triggered by a quake in another time zone. Fact 29. A marble palace under the mountains. Hidden beneath Montana's mountains lies Lewis and Clark Caverns, one of the most spectacular limestone cave systems in the West. Stretching for more than 2 mi, it's filled with twisting passageways and chambers, lined with stalactites, stalagmites, and rare formations that seem to bend the rules of geology. Flowstone drapes down like frozen waterfalls, and delicate calcite crystals glint under the light, giving the caverns an almost architectural quality. It's a place where you can see up close the slow artistry of water and time working underground for millions of years. Fact 28. The Lottery River with no roads. Montana's Smith River is the ultimate wilderness experience, and we mean that literally. This pristine 59mm limestone canyon float is so untouched that there are 0 roads leading to it once you launch. You can only camp at designated river mile markers. And here's the kicker. You can't just show up and go. You have to win a permit lottery that's more competitive than getting concert tickets for your favorite band. And if you do get lucky, you'll experience one of America's last truly wild rivers. A multi-day journey through towering canyon walls where the biggest decision you'll make is which limestone cliff to stare at while you drift downstream. Fact 27. Birthplace of the T-Rex. In 1902, Hell Creek, Montana, made history when paleontologist Barnum Brown unearthed the very first Tyrannosaurus rex ever discovered. That single find turned Montana's Badlands into one of the most important fossil sites on Earth. Since then, the state has produced more T-Rex fossils than anywhere else, along with massive Triceratops skulls and razor-clawed raptors. Today, Montana isn't just part of the dinosaur story, it's the place where some of the greatest chapters were ever written. Fact 26, mummified dinosaur. Jumping from 1902 to 2001, Montana delivered the paleontology discovery of the century, Leonardo, a 77 million-year-old dinosaur so perfectly preserved that calling it a fossil seemed like an understatement. A real dinosaur mummy, this 23FT Bachalophosaurus has more than 90% of its body still in place, including its internal organs, skin, and even its last meal still visible in its stomach. You can actually see individual scale patterns on its side, like examining a creature that died yesterday instead of eons ago. Guinness World Records officially crowned Leonardo as the best preserved dinosaur ever discovered, earning him the affectionate nickname of the Mummosaurus. Bonus fact, in 2009, the same man who discovered Leonardo stole raptor bones from private land in northern Montana, hoping to make molds that could have sold for up to $400,000 on the fossil market. When caught, he initially claimed it was an honest mistake, but later admitted to concealing where the bones were found. He was sentenced to 60 days in prison. Fact 25, Dinosaur Hall of Fame. The Dino madness doesn't end with Leonardo or fossil thieves. Montana is also home to the ultimate dinosaur trophy room. Bozeman's Museum of the Rockies houses the world's largest collection of Tyrannosaurus rex and Triceratops skeletons, making it the undisputed heavyweight champion of dinosaur museums. Along with several enormous skulls are dozens of complete T-Rexes, which are proudly referred to as Montana's T-Rex, because sometimes you have to keep things local. Fact 24, the lower 48's wild spine. Montana is home to the largest roadless wilderness in the lower 48, the Bob Marshall Scapegoat Great Bear Complex. Spanning 1.5 million acres, it's bigger than Delaware and Rhode Island combined with not a single paved road cutting through it. Out here, grizzly bears still rule the ridgelines, and the 22-many-long Chinese wall of limestone towers over the Continental Divide like a natural fortress. You could hike for weeks, without ever crossing a road surrounded only by alpine lakes, jagged peaks, and wildlife that's never seen a car. It's one of the last places on Earth where America looks exactly as it did before we paved it over. Fact 23. Disappearing glaciers. Glacier National Park might soon become the most ironically named place in America. Back in 1850, this rugged wilderness had about 150 active glaciers sculpting its valleys. Today, only 26 survive, and they're shrinking so fast that scientists warn they could disappear entirely within just a few decades. That means visitors right now may be among the last generations to see the icy giants that gave the park its name. It's not just a natural wonder disappearing, it's a 10,000-year-old chapter of Earth's history melting away in real time. Fact 22. Inland rainforest and giant cedars. Montana isn't just cowboys in wide-open plains. It's hiding a rainforest. In the far northwest corner, the Bull River Valley soaks up 50 to 100 in of rain every year, creating a secret temperate rainforest that feels straight out of Washington or Oregon. At Ross Creek Cedar Grove, 500-year-old red cedars rise 175 ft into the sky and stretch 8 ft across. Their moss-draped trunks and fern-covered floor give the place an otherworldly vibe. Walk beneath them and it feels less like Montana and more like stepping into Middle-earth. Fact 21. A glacier full of grasshoppers. High in Montana's Beartooth Mountains once existed one of the strangest glaciers on Earth, Grasshopper Glacier, a frozen graveyard packed with tens of millions of insects. Trapped inside the ice were entire swarms of Rocky Mountain locusts, a species that went extinct over a century ago, preserved in chilling detail like nature's own insect museum. Early. Climbers in the 1900s described layers of bugs stacked in the ice like some huge time capsule, the result of swarms slamming into freak blizzards in freezing midair. Scientists say no collection like it exists anywhere else. But here's the tragic twist. Most of it has melted away, erasing one of Montana's weirdest natural wonders and destroying priceless specimens of an extinct species forever. Fact 20. North America's longest river starts here. Montana isn't just home to big rivers. It's the birthplace of North America's longest one. At a spot called Three Forks, the Jefferson, Madison, and Gallatin rivers merge like nature's own boardroom meeting, forming the headwaters of the mighty Missouri. From this quiet Montana valley, the river begins a 2,341-mile journey across the American heartland, even scooping up Montana's Yellowstone River along the way before joining the Mississippi. Together, the Missouri-Mississippi system stretches more than 3,700 man-years. That's almost the distance from New York to Rome. The exact place where it all begins is now Missouri Headwaters State Park, a landmark that looks wildly similar to when Lewis and Clark stood there in 1805, staring at the birthplace of a continental super river. Fact 19. America's Alps with a sky highway, the Beartooth Highway, US 212 tops out at 10,947 ft above sea level, making it one of the highest paved roads in the country. Along the way, you can pass more than 1,000 alpine lakes and snowbanks, so tall they tower over your car, even in June. Locals call it the most beautiful drive in America, and for good reason. One minute you're cruising past glaciers, the next you're weaving through natural snow tunnels. Montana owns the most jaw-dropping half of the route, where mountain goats casually wander the roadside like they're traffic cops. It's basically the Swiss Alps, no passport required. Except here you don't just see the mountains, you drive straight over the top of them. Fact 18. A 22 mm long wall, hidden deep in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. Montana hides a cliff so outrageous it feels like a myth. The Chinese Wall is a limestone cliff that sources 1,000 ft tall and runs 22 meters without breaking. Imagine a stone blade slicing across the forest. It's nature's version of the Great Wall of China, except untouched by humans. The kicker, you can't just drive up to it. It takes days of backcountry hiking to reach, which is why only the most hardcore adventurers ever stand at its base. The wall is so huge that pilots say you can spot its shadow from 30,000 ft up in a jet. Fact 17. Sapphires fit for a queen. In a little gulch in central Montana, the ground hides gems that rival anything from Burma or Kashmir. Yogo sapphires are the only sapphires on Earth so pure and so vividly cornflower blue that they rarely need cutting or heat treating. They come out of the ground sparkling. Back in 1900, a set of Yogos was presented to Britain's Princess Alexandra, and today, these Montana-orn stones even sit in the crown jewels of England. Gemologists rank them among the finest sapphires on the planet, prized for their flawless clarity and signature blue glow. Think about that. Some of the world's rarest and most elite jewels didn't come from exotic mines in Asia or Africa. They came from a remote gulch in Montana that most people have never even heard of. Fact 16. More grizzlies than anywhere in the lower 48. Step into Montana and you're entering the domain of some seriously impressive landlords. With about 1,100 grizzlies, the state holds the largest grizzly population in the lower 48. But that's only part of the story. Montana is one of the last places in America where the full lineup of big predators still roams free. Grizzlies, black bears, gray wolves, and mountain lions. It's a living food chain straight out of pre-settlement times. Still, intact, while most of the world has lost its top carnivores. And that makes Montana one of the only states where you can still see how North America's ecosystems were meant to function. Raw, balanced, and ruled from the top down. Fact 15. Big three outnumbered humans. In Montana, people are basically the minority. The state's wild game population reads like it came straight out of a Nat Geo headcount. About 150,000 elk, 170,000 emu deer, 300,000 whitetails, and 100,000 pronghorn antelope. That's more than 700,000 big game animals roaming free, nearly rivaling Montana's human population of just over 1 million. Add in bighorn sheep, moose, and predators, and the scoreboard tilts even further in Mother Nature's favor. Out here, it's not unusual to see an entire valley filled with elk or pronghorn sprinting across the prairie at highway speeds. In much of Montana, the rush hour isn't just cars at a traffic light, it's wildlife moving through the open range. Fact 14. Prehistoric predators still rule. Montana isn't just big in size, it's big in biodiversity. The state is home to 115 different mammal species, more than almost anywhere else in the lower 48. That means Montana is one of the last places where the original cast of North American wildlife still acts like it's the Ice Age. Wolverines, those elusive mountain ghosts tough enough to kill prey 10 times their size, still roam here. So do grizzly bears that look like they walk straight out of a prehistoric cave painting. Add in lins with paws built like snowshoes, mountain lions stalking ridgeline lines, and wolves running in packs, and you've got a predator lineup almost impossible to find elsewhere. From jumping mice weighing half an ounce to bison tipping the scales at a ton, Montana is one of the rare places where the wild still feels truly wild. Fact 13. 406 forever. Or maybe not. Despite being the fourth largest state in America, all of Montana operates under a single area code, 406. While states like California juggle dozens of area codes, Montana has proudly stuck with just one since area codes were introduced. The 406 has become such a badge of honor that you'll see it plastered on everything from t-shirts to business names to tattoos. It's become Montana's unofficial calling card, instantly identifying anyone as a true Big Sky resident. While many Montana residents are proud of the 406 forever status, the latest projection is that 406 will be the only area code for Montana numbers to at least 2031. Fact 12. Millionaires in the gold rush capital. Back in 1888, Helena, Montana was the wealth capital of the world. With only 12,000 residents, it somehow flexed 50 millionaires, the highest concentration per capita on Earth. That meant one of every 240 people was rolling in gold rush money. A stat so wild it sounds fake, but the evidence was everywhere. Helena's Hills had lavish mansions and Gilded Age palaces, a skyline of wealth in the middle of Big Sky country. The city earned the nickname Queen City of the Rockies, and unlike most Wild West boom towns, Helena looked less like a dusty outpost and more like a high society enclave. For a moment in history, it was easier to bump into a millionaire on the streets of Helena than almost anywhere else on the planet. Fact 11. America's first luge run. Montana was the unlikely birthplace of North American luge. In 1965, at Lolo Hot Springs on Lolo Pass, the very first luge run in North America was built. This wasn't just any amateur sledding hill. It was a legitimate engineered luge track that brought European-style winter sports to the American West. Picture Olympic-level winter athletes flying down an icy track at 80+ miles per hour through Montana's mountain wilderness. The track put this remote corner of Montana on the international winter sports map and paved the way for luge to become an established sport across North America. Fact 10. Rainbow River rocks. On the shores of Lake McDonald in Glacier National Park, reality looks like someone's wildest Instagram filter, except it's 100% natural. This pristine mountain lake is famous for its incredible rainbow pebbles, smooth polished stones in reds, deep maroons, emerald greens, sky blues, and rich purples that create an underwater kaleidoscope beneath the crystal clearer water. These aren't your ordinary gray beach rocks. They're nature's own stained glass masterpiece colored by iron-rich minerals deposited millions of years ago when ancient seas covered the land. The effect is so absurd that pictures of Lake McDonald's rainbow rocks routinely go viral with people convinced they've got to be digitally enhanced or fake. Spoiler alert, they're not. Fact 9. Montana's American. Serengeti. Tucked along the Missouri River in Montana is a stretch of 1.1 million acres of land so raw it's been called the once again American Serengeti. The Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument covers 375,000 acres of jagged cliffs, maze-like coulees, and marginal-looking badlands that have barely changed since Lewis and Clark floated through in 1805. Outlaws rode past these bluffs. Homesteaders tried and failed to tame them, and today they look almost identical to what explorers saw 200 years ago. Cowboy artist Charlie Russell used these twisted sandstone formations as his muse, calling them the truest picture of the West. In a world where wilderness usually gets bulldozed or fenced off, the breaks remain one of the last places where America still feels completely untamed. Fact 8. Fantastically beautiful alien rocks. In southeastern Montana is a place that looks less like Earth and more like a sci-fi set. Medicine Rock State Park is filled with sandstone towers carved by wind into arches, tunnels, and honeycombed walls that look like nature's own alien architecture. Theodore Roosevelt saw it back in 1883 and called it as fantastically beautiful a place as I have ever seen. High praise from a man who explored the entire American West. Long before that, native tribes considered the formation sacred and gave the park its mystical name. Walking here feels like stepping onto Mars, surrounded by stone sponges and eerie rock sentinels that seem almost too strange to be real. Fact 7. Golden Eagle Migration Superhighway. Montana hosts one of North America's neatest wildlife migrations that most people never hear about. The Golden Eagle Migration along the Rocky Mountain front. At the Rocky Mountain Front Eagle Migration area west of Great Falls, more golden eagles have been counted in a single day than anywhere else in the entire country. During peak migration season, hundreds of these magnificent raptors funnel through Montana's mountain corridors, creating a sky-high river of wings that stretches for miles. Wildlife biologists and bureaus travel from around the world to witness this incredible natural phenomenon. Fact 6. Geyser, capital of the world. Everyone's heard of Old Faithful in Wyoming, but here's the twist. Montana actually owns a big piece of the world's largest geyser field. Yellowstone National Park straddles state lines, and it holds over half of all active geysers on Earth. That's right. One park, mostly split between Montana and Wyoming, contains more explosive geothermal power than anywhere else on the planet. And Montana's side isn't just leftovers. It has mammoth hot springs, where boiling water builds huge limestone terraces that look like frozen waterfalls. Add in steaming vents, hissing mud pots, and unpredictable eruptions, and you're standing inside a volcanic wonderland, where the earth literally breathes fire. Fact 5. Mammoth mines underfoot. but Montana is sitting on top of a 10,000 Minai underground maze. That's enough tunnel to stretch from Montana clear across the Atlantic to Europe. In the early 1900s, this wasn't just local industry, but was producing so much copper, it literally powered America's electrification. Every telephone wire, every light bulb, every motor had but copper running through it. The town earned the nickname the richest hill on earth, and the honeycomb beneath it is still mind-bending in scale. Imagine an entire modern city sitting on top of a maze so huge you could drive coast to coast without covering the same distance. Fact 4. Palindrome state. Montana has a quirky linguistic claim to fame. It's sometimes nicknamed the palindrome state, not because Montana is one, but because tucked inside its borders is Iolaka Lake, an 11-letter palindrome that reads the same forward as backward. It's one of the longest palindromic place names in America, and it adds a strange, almost Easter egg quality to Montana geography. Beyond being a neat trivia flex, it's a reminder that even in the wildlands of Big Sky country, the details get weird. From massive glaciers to a lake name that looks like it was designed by a puzzle lover, it's the kind of fact that makes you double take at a map. Fact 3. Ghost town time capsules. Montana is littered with ghost towns that look like the Old West hit pause and never hit play again. Virginia City, founded in 1863, was once the territorial capital and booming gold camp, but today it survives almost exactly as it was, saloons, shops, and all. Just down the road is Bannock, where Montana's first big gold strike in 1862 sparked a rush that turned the place into a lawless frontier hub. Now it's a state park with over 60 preserved buildings, including a creepy old hotel and the gallows where vigilantes once hung outlaws. Walk the boardwalks at sunset and you'll swear you've stepped into a time warp. The creaking wood and eerie silence make it feel like the prospectors and bandits only just left. Fact 2. The Continental Divide's wind factory. Montana's Continental Divide doesn't just get windy. It turns into a full-blown wind factory. In Livingston, gusts regularly rip past 70 to 80 mph, strong enough to shove freight trains off their tracks. Ranchers even string ropes between the house and the barn so they don't get blown away while feeding cattle. These winds are so relentless that a calm day still feels like a storm anywhere else. In most places, hurricane-force winds are disasters. In Montana, they're just Tuesday. Fact 1. One of Earth's last intact temperate ecosystems. Yellowstone gets most of the headlines for Wyoming, but Montana quietly owns a massive piece of the action, and not just the park itself. The greater Yellowstone ecosystem sprawls across 20 million acres, stretching into Montana and even Idaho. What makes it so insane? It's one of the last intact temperate ecosystems on Earth. That means the original predator-prey lineup still plays out exactly as it did thousands of years ago. Grizzlies prowl the ridges. Wolf packs trace ancient migration routes. Bison herds thunder through valleys, and elk follow the seasons like clockwork. Everywhere else in the temperate world, this balance has been bulldozed by highways and suburbs. Subscribe to our channel, Earth Explorer Hub, for more interesting facts around the Woolard.